Welcome back. This is Senate Judiciary Committee, and we're now taking up draft 5.1 of criminal threatening S-265. And we kind of finalized this, but Senator Bruce was not here last Friday. So we wanted to give him an opportunity to comment on the new draft. But maybe we'll start with Ben, if you could just go over what's in the new draft, Ben.
Yes, Senator Sears. Ben Novogrodsky for the Office of Legislative Counsel. I could put up the highlighted version again, or just a clean copy.
Yeah, the highlighted would be good.
Okay, great. Hold on one moment. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Is this 5.1, please?
It is. Actually, on my highlighted version, I still haven't updated that draft, but this is the same version. So just to quickly go through the changes from the previous versions. In subsection C on page 1, line 19, the committee decided or proposed an amendment to bump up the penalty to $2,000 from $1,000. And then in subsection D, starting on page 1, lines 20, it was added that there were various enumerated locations rather than the public accommodation portion. And these enumerated places include a public or private school, a post-secondary education institution, a place of worship, polling place during election activities, Vermont State House, or any federal, state, or municipal building, with a corresponding penalty of being imprisoned for not more than 2 years or fined not more than $2,000 or both. And that is the enhanced penalty for I guess in consideration of, rather than the public place of accommodation, to have these enhanced penalties in these specific locations. In subsection E, it was amended to include the language that a person who violates subsection A of this section with the intent to terrify, intimidate, or unlawfully influence a person to prevent that person from complying with state laws or rules, state court or administrative orders, or state executive orders shall be imprisoned not more than 2 years or fined not more than $2,000 or both. And this change was intended to reflect violations of public, or rather intimidating behavior to encourage violations of public mask mandates, or maybe any court orders related to a situation similar to Slate Ridge. And again, the penalties are consistent now of 2 years or not more than $2,000, and that's consistent throughout, with the exception of subsection A. Scrolling down, election official. I apologize for the lack of highlight here. Election official, public employee, and public servant are added because if you scroll down to new subsection H, this has been added to create an enhanced penalty for a person who violates subsection A of this section with the intent to terrify, intimidate, or unlawfully influence the conduct of a public servant, an election official, or public employee in any decision, opinion, recommendation, vote, or other exercise of discretion taken in capacity as a public servant, election official, or public employee, or with the intent to retaliate against a public servant, election official, or public employee for any previous action taken in capacity as a public servant, election official, or public employee, shall be imprisoned not more than 2 years or fined not more than $2,000 or both. And this section is intended to reflect basically any intimidating tactics or words that are aimed to prevent public servants, election officials, or employees from doing their job. And again, it's that consistent penalty of not more than 2 years or not more than $2,000 or both. And
Ben?
yes,
Sorry, I'm just wondering why there are the two sections that where this language mirrors itself. There's an earlier section that has this language, it seems, and now it's here. So I'm wondering what the thinking is about having it in two places.
it was really for really editing purposes rather than anything else. I know the placement is a little unorthodox, but it's really just to prevent more revisions to the statute. It was really easier to kind of insert it here at the end.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is, do we need the previous? If we kept this section that you have up here, do we need the previous iteration of this same sort of language?
Are you talking about subsection E?
Yes.
Or
Yes. Sorry, you went by it.
well, subsection E is really they are intended to serve different purposes. New subsection H is really aimed towards, threats to election workers, and really what came out of the testimony concerned with threats to the Secretary of State's office. Subsection E is really intended to cover public health mandate violations and language directed at business owners and people relative to that.
I'm sorry, I can't control this, but if you go up a little further,
I think it's D that you're talking about.
yeah, where there's there was another place where it talked about an attempt to influence or intimidate somebody's I have to, sorry, I'm going to pull up my own version and ask my question properly. It's I can't.
Okay.
can't
Ben, candidate for school board, are they covered here?
Well, a candidate for school board would be it depends if the threat would place any person in reasonable apprehension of death if that were to occur at a public or private school. And then also, if you were to scroll down to subsection H, this would really include a public servant, would include anybody that is a non-classified employee, and anybody that serves in state office. So it would include a state school board official at that point. And I will.
No, I'm talking about if somebody is a candidate for office, and there is a person who tries to terrify them, intimidate them, and they drop out of the race. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, they would not officially be in office at that point, so this section would not cover that situation.
I think we should consider that because, Kaya Morris in her situation was an incumbent. So one could argue that she was still in office when she decided not to. But if this was her first campaign and similar behavior occurred, I'd want to make sure it was covered.
Okay. We could put in language concerning that.
just add candidate for public office as well as public official.
Yeah, we could add a candidate.
So instead of a public servant candidate for public office.
Mhm.
Well, in addition to.
In addition to.
Yeah.
So can I just ask something? Wouldn't she be covered under the very first part in A? except
Yeah.
you have the enhanced penalty. Is that what you're saying, Philip?
Oh, it was Dick's,
My concern was, I think a candidate should be covered for enhanced penalty
Oh, okay.
because they are, let's say somebody's in favor of changing the mascot. Things have gotten really, I know there's a bill on that, but things have, in some local communities, races have hinged on whether or not you want the mascot or not.
Right.
And
Yeah,
things can get pretty heated.
South Burlington had the same thing.
But I think there's a difference between it being heated and there being real credible threats.
Well,
to
obviously,
people.
I'm talking about credible threats, and I thank you for clarifying because I wasn't clear what I meant. I meant that people can be threatened over their positions on certain issues when they're candidates, and if they were, if they met the requirements here. Thanks for clarifying that, Senator. I kind of, someone might have thought something different.
So, Senator Sears, so I will go ahead and add a candidate for public office to subsection E, or I'm sorry, to subsection H, in addition to public servant, election official, or public employee.
And put Joe on one of our accounts.
Senator Baruth, have you had?
Right, but he
I-
has his own account
Oh.
down there.
Somebody,
But he have-
Matt,
Matt, you want
you need to mute.
you?
There we go. I think this looks much better than the last draft that I saw, and with that addition of candidate to section H, I could vote for this. I think it's become specific enough and helpful enough in addressing the problem that I like it much better now.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one question with regard to section H? With regard to, I see where we're going in terms of if this, say this passed now, would it cover, it says for any previous action, line 16, or public employee for any previous action taken in capacity as a public servant, et cetera. So would that, can someone who was threatened previously, right, before this goes into effect, have some action under this bill?
No, I think this means that if I take a position on something
I
and
see
then 2 months later, somebody, it
I
says, I'm going to kill you because you did that.
I agree, but could it be used for anything that occurred prior to the passage of this bill is what I'm wondering from Ben.
Senator Nitka, no, the legislation isn't retroactive. There's no intent there, and
Okay,
and otherwise, it could be put in, but there are statutes on the book that prevent legislation from being retroactive unless there's a specific intent to do so.
okay, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Ben. Are there any comments? I know there's a couple of people in the room, Matt Valerio, and I saw somebody else who want to. I can't see anyone but.
Senator Sears, would you like me to take down the?
Yeah, would you please? Yeah,
Sure.
thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to amend S 265 as witnessed in draft 5.1? Senator Baruth has moved that we amend S 265 and is seen in draft 5.1 with the slight amendment, which I don't know if it'll make it 6.1 or 5.2.
It would be 6.1, Senator Sears.
Okay, so 6.1. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Peggy, could you please call the roll?
Senator Benning,
Well, I'm sorry, Senator Benning wanted to comment.
I just want to say, I'm happy to support the amendment, but as previously noted, I'm still voting against the bill.
Okay,
So yes is the answer to the vote question.
thank you. Peggy, please.
So Senator Benning, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Senator Nika,
Yes,
Senator White,
Yes, and I haven't made up my mind on the bill.
Senator Baruth,
Yes,
Senator Sears,
Yes. Okay. Now, is there a motion to report favorably S-265 as amended? Senator Baruth has moved to report favorably S-265 as amended. Is there any further discussion? All right. Peggy, could you please call the roll?
Senator Benning,
No,
yes or no?
no,
No.
No, okay. Senator Nika,
yes,
Senator White,
Reluctantly, yes.
Senator Baruth,
yes,
Senator Sears.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Is this the first one?
This is.
So if you would help with a with a section by section explanation of the bill with the reporter.
who's the reporter?
I think I'm going to do it.
Okay, and
Unless somebody's really,
Not me.
unless somebody
Thank
else
you.
would rather. No, okay. Peggy, if you do the normal.
yep, I'll have to wait for the clean version from Ben when he
Yep.
gets it from editing. Just send it to me, Ben. Thank you.
Okay, I will. Thank you, Peggy.
Is the vote 410 or 401?
1-0.
410.
Okay. I was getting
All right.
confused.